Hi friends, as always I'm super excited to see you here. If you're meeting for the first time, I'm Shankar Pandey and this is the Dr. USP channel. I host videos on media, communication, statistics and research on this channel. To stay updated with the latest on this channel, I urge you to consider subscribing to the channel. The Center for Contemporary Culture Studies at the University of Birmingham heralded the field of cultural studies. Let's find out Birmingham School Cultural Studies explained in today's video. The Birmingham School for the first time thought of popular culture as a potential site for resistance and conflict. From the very beginning, cultural studies was seen as consisting of three parts: historical and philosophical, sociological, and the literary critical. The Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies was founded by Richard Hoggart at the University of Birmingham in 1964. British cultural studies combines neo-Marxist theory with ideas and research methods derived from diverse sources, including literary criticism, linguistics, anthropology, and history. Raymond Williams' work inspired scholars at CCCS Birmingham. He wrote on cultural change and development and elite domination of culture. He argued that mass media posed a threat to real cultural development. His books Culture and Society, published in 1958, and The Long Revolution, published in 1961, were very influential with the Birmingham School. The Americanization of British popular culture, the growth of the mass communication in Britain in the 1950s, the growing multiculturalism of British society, and the influence of critical methods like semiotics and structuralism had a deep impact on the Birmingham School. Cultural studies started as an experiential, even autobiographical method of examining class consciousness and culture, historically and descriptively. It now uses ethnographic fieldwork, interviewing, textual and discourse analysis, etc. to investigate communication-related issues. Birmingham School recognized the importance of culture for maintaining political order in society. Among others, they were influenced by F.R. Lewis's formalism, French theorist Louis Althusser's structural Marxism, and the writings of Italian Marxist Antonio Gramsci. The Birmingham School pioneered new approaches to the study of culture. This included ideological analysis, studies of working class cultures and subcultures, the role of media audiences, feminist cultural research, hegemonic struggles, and the place of race in social and cultural processes. British cultural studies was a break from the behaviorist emphasis of previous research approaches. Earlier approaches, as we know, lay greater stress on media effects and media influence in terms of a direct stimulus-response mechanism. The Birmingham School was more concerned with lived experience. British cultural studies also challenged the notions of media text as transparent bearers of meaning. The Birmingham School highlighted the structuring potential of each medium. It studied sign systems through which mass-mediated meaning reaches audiences. The Birmingham School also broke with the passive and undifferentiated conceptions of the audience. It favored a direct examination of the variety of ways messages are decoded, by members of the audience with different social and political orientations. Initial questions for the Birmingham School posed by Richard Hoggart included: where do artists and writers come from? What are the audiences for different forms? What about the opinion formers and their channels of influence? What about the production and distribution of the written and spoken word? In 1968, Stuart Hall took over as the director of the Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies, Birmingham. Hall believed the mass media maintained the dominance of those already in positions of power. He suggested popular culture was the ground on which the transformations are worked. During Hall's tenure in the 1970s, there were a series of co-written books, articles, and working papers that explored a wide variety of topics such as subcultures, in an edited book called The Resistance to Rituals, Race and Law in the Policing and Crisis, and the theoretical aspects of cultural inquiry in Culture, Media, and Language. Hall drew upon Italian political theorist Antonio Gramsci's concept of hegemony to explain why the revolution Marx predicted didn't occur in industrial societies. Hall suggested that heavy-handed efforts by elites to promote their ideology can fail, and well-planned efforts to promote counter-hegemonies can succeed. The encoding-decoding model of communication was first developed by Stuart Hall in 1973. The encoding of a message is the production of the message. The decoding of the message is how an audience member is able to understand and interpret the message. There are 4 stages involved in this process: production, circulation, use, and reproduction. The first decoding position, according to Hall, is the dominant hegemonic code. This position is one where the consumer takes the actual meaning directly and decodes it exactly the way it was encoded. For instance, hegemonic interpretations created by the elite. In the negotiated decoding position, readers acknowledge the dominant message but do not completely accept the message the way the encoder intended. The reader generally accepts the preferred meaning but resists and modifies it to reflect his own interests. In the oppositional decoding position, the reader understands the denotative and the connotative meaning of the messages encoded and deliberately resists the meaning that encoder intended. The reader alters the message in their mind to fit an alternative framework of reference. Thanks for staying along, friends. As always, it was a delight having you here. I'll be back with another video very soon. Till then, have a great time.